Hi, I'm Jacqueline Vong, and I'm the president of Playology International. It's a boutique agency specializing in building brands and creating basically a blueprint from content and amplification to consumer products and beyond. I'm also was the former Women in Toys Hong Kong chair. I was the first Asian chair they had, so I thought it was very important to bridge that gap of new women executives as well as international executives with the local Chinese audience there. Today I'm going to teach you follow-up strategies for success. After receiving a positive response from a prospective client, it's always very exciting, and I'm a very emotive person. So I am quite excitable, and I genuinely am very positive and thrilled to be working with like-minded people when they give me a yes. The next steps always are to thank them for their time and ensure a proper follow-up. After a yes, we try to have a follow-up timeline that's not too overbearing, but somewhat within the limits of 1 to 2 weeks with an email or a social media follow-up or a WhatsApp, which I do a lot of communications with, and or a conference call. You should follow up regularly without feeling like you're overwhelming the client, prospective client. You should also use different ways to follow up. I like to think about follow-ups with some thought leadership points and or humor to ensure that after a couple follow-ups, it doesn't sound redundant about a status update. Some examples of some of my follow-ups after not hearing from a client for a while include me putting together a poke at myself about trying not to be so overbearing, but here I am again, and or something that would be relevant to them. Some of your follow-ups don't need to be direct. They can be indirect. Sometimes I like to look at industry news and plug it into my emails follow-ups. So and so is trending up and I thought of you. And how about let's regroup after that about our project? Some little known communication strategies or key phrases that I'd like to utilize are sometimes how I relate to clients and stakeholders based on their history. Sometimes you do some research on LinkedIn with them. Sometimes you know about their family situation. So I like to talk about human experiences and kids and families and where they're located. I'm located in Canada, so I often talk about what the weather's. It's usually pretty cold here. I relay personal and professional experiences to share that I'm human and have developed a business based on success, but also I have definitely learned a lot from some of the things that I've had to develop on. So I like to manage expectations and being very transparent about experiences. And that's what people find really endearing and why I feel that I've built some really great relationships in the industry. When you're starting to network and form connections at Wit Empowerment Day, I often find that opening up with maybe a personal anecdote about who you are, where you're from, so that you become relatable is often a benefit, and people remember that about you when they come back to you. Some common pitfalls in the follow-up phase are when you are overwhelming a party when they're considering your project with a lot of communication. I think it's important to have a proper cadence and etiquette so that you aren't feeling like you're pressuring them to make a call either way, because sometimes when you become a little more annoying, they get frustrated with the overwhelming communication that you come with. I think also being clear about when you're following up with a timeline to get feedback and what deliverables you will have as follow-ups are often proper to ensure that you manage those expectations. A cadence I would recommend after an initial pitch is possibly a week to a week and a half follow-up via email. A cadence that I would not recommend is every 2 days. If you have a sense that your party is getting frustrated for your follow-up or they've completely ghosted you, I navigate this via humor. I usually use in the subject line, "Oop, it's me again," or "annoying follow-up request," so I could get some clarity on whether or not I can close that loop. How do you leverage a yes beyond landing a deal? landing a deal is awesome. It feels great, but it also can mean that you're building your profile. It could be a reputation builder. When you get that confirmation of the deal, you initially celebrate it and strategize on what you can learn and develop from this project, but also what networks you can build from, and also social media and LinkedIn announcements to heighten your profile in the trade, and consumer focused announcements as well. We learn from thought leadership when you are working with new teams and new dynamics. And you can also develop some experience based on the retail or activation or program that has unique selling points that you're developing. So many things that you can leverage after landing a deal. I am excited to share a story of a lengthy follow up to lead to success where it was unlikely at first. I was in China after having a career in North America for a bit with Mattel and Spin Master. I was working for a local Chinese company managing the mainland China. So I went from an audience in Canada of about 100 to 200,000 people to 800 million households and 400 million kids. This was a newer toy company, so there are toy dynasties that are known in the Chinese market, like Alpha, or there's the Hasbros or Mattel. And one of the goals for me was to bring in foreign brands and partner with the foreign entities, such as a Barbie, into China. So we were going after Peppa Pig as a master toy license, being relatively unknown. We worked really hard to make a name for ourselves in China by leveraging some of the secondary toy partnerships we landed, but also working really hard with those retail partners. And it's not the same from the west to the east. And so there are names like Toys R Us and Walmart, but there are also local regional players. And we worked really hard to establish ourselves as brand masters where counterfeits should not be. And once we were able to not only convince the Chinese market that we were trusted, we were able to convince our friends at E1, now Hasbro, to be their partners in China. It wasn't a well-known brand. Peppa Pig wasn't a well-known brand back in when we started, but we worked in partnership to get it on TV, on CCTV, which is the national network, and really build the brand and scrub the brand of counterfeits. Also create a product line that had the taste and preferences of China versus what we see naturally as a play pattern in North America, and do our best to succeed in such a different and challenging marketplace. And it took us probably 4 years before Peppa Pig became number one brand in China. After a lengthy follow-up, it is hard to keep your spirits up, but it's important to remember that it's a long game, and we are so privileged to be in a career to do what we do, play with toys, be in kids entertainment. I definitely maintain good humor about it, and keeps me passionate to know that I am building the future of play for kids. To not take it personally after a long follow-up period is something that I've had to train for all my life. I think I take things personally, and that's always been a development point for me and also the way my agency is perceived. But I think you realize it is a long game, and after many years of just doing this, you just win some and you lose some, and you just keep going. How to follow up after a no. When receiving a no from a company, we just shake it off. We know that the industry is small, and we know that one day the answer won't be no. So we don't give up. We sometimes circle back to clients who have said no with some new ideas, some thought leadership, some new pitches, fostering a positive relationship with them and knowing that one day it can be a yes. After a company rejects your idea, you can first of all thank them and re engage with them in a matter of weeks or days, depending on how much and passionate you feel about your pitch. The no sometimes comes from restraints within the internal company. And I'd like to make myself curious about why we received a no. Is it budgetary? Is it market timing? Is it the wrong thing at the wrong time? And so rather than being pushy, acknowledge that they know their company best and their objectives may not align at this time. There isn't a set amount of time between when you can reach out again. But if you have a fresh idea, reaching out to a client that has previously given you a no from time to time, even if the idea doesn't quite fit the bill, it keeps you top of mind with them. And when they have a project that they think of you for, sometimes they reach out. Sometimes clients are really quick to say no, and it's only because they don't see the full scope of the opportunity. Sometimes it's internal matters as well. It's funny. It's just a matter of asking them specific questions as to why the pitch didn't work and asking them for feedback. It could be as simple as budgetary or trend related, and sometimes you're just too early within the trend for them to see it, for a retailer to see it, for a toy company to see what your trend is or what your project is. So there is an opportunity to always refine it and come back. And sometimes, again, they come back to you because you were so engaging and memorable with your pitch. There are a couple of examples within my career that I've turned a no into a yes. And it's because with proper persistence, proper energy and passion, people can really see that I really believe in certain projects and certain IPs and certain things, and they end up being won over by either your passion, your commitment to expressing some thought leadership and data, the reasons why you've isolated this opportunity being the right fit for this company that you're pitching, and they just needed some more time, and they usually sometimes come around, and sometimes they come around and give you a new project that would be suitable for your capabilities and your level of commitment and energy. Some tools that I find effective after a follow up are WIT Empowerment Day. Also, networking definitely to get your profile up and make those connections. Also, emails. And some of my colleagues love using the phone rather than emails because it feels so impersonal and actually hear the tonality of voice or a virtual call where you can see people's facial expressions. So, I'm going to give you a personal anecdote about how I started my own boutique agency. I had a career in North America with some of the best corporations in the world. I had a really enormous opportunity in mainland China where I was building a toy companies from scratch and working with one of the many top brands of that world in China. I came back and repatriated to Canada because I was having children and I didn't have that much of a plan. So I feel really lucky because of the relationships that I built from the past experiences, as well as some of my international experience really came to give me a solid reputation for diligent work, creative, innovative, and resilient. And I just kept pitching clients with my passion, my former experience, and my thought leadership, really thinking about what I had learned overseas and also at the former corporations I was at, and putting them together into this new agency and how I could impact new companies, clients, IPs, and projects into the new world that I built. I'm 7 years into Playology International, and I'm really proud of what we have accomplished. We represent some amazing IPs. We represent some amazing manufacturers, and we're continuously pivoting to where we think the next big thing would be to service our clients there. What I will say is it's tough out there, but don't give up. It gets discouraging when you don't land your first couple of pitches, but know that there's not always going to be a no for you.